So, Jess, hello, officially hello.
So officially.
Um, we have been doing these cluster conversations for people who drop in live and people who watch after the fact. It's really nice to kind of um, hear people's thoughts who are watching it afterwards as well. And I'm just thrilled to have you here to talk about the jump from one to two and three to four and all of the rest, because as we've just been saying, that's kind of what I'm in the thick of right now. You have four kids. Um, do you want to just start by introducing yourself and saying hello and telling people what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
having me. I'm excited to have this conversation. I never thought I would be having this conversation. I actually came from a corporate marketing background.
Yeah.
So for 10 years of my life, I was working in marketing for ad agencies. I worked at Food Network. I worked, on the corporate marketing side. And then when I got pregnant with my first daughter in 2014, I started to think about what I could be doing to have more flexibility. I started to get into health and wellness. I became a health coach. And basically, when she was born, I did not go back into the corporate world. I continued my practice as a health coach, seeing clients half the time, and then being with my daughter half the time. And then that has evolved into being a doula. And so I was finding myself coaching, especially in the motherhood realm, working with people who were looking to be pregnant, were pregnant, or were postpartum. And that just kind of naturally led into the birth process where I was working with people before, I was working with people after, but then I was recommending them to other doulas that I knew. And so I decided to go ahead and bridge that gap. And for those of you who are not familiar with what a doula does, it's essentially a support person during your pregnancy and birth. So someone that you can work with to educate you on the process, to educate you on what's going on, to be there in the room with you when you deliver, and to help you kind of with like all the decisions that are being made around your birth, and also to support you because obviously it's huge event in your life and can be very uncomfortable. And so that is what I do currently when I'm not being a mom to four.
And what led you to not, I guess that's a silly question. What led you to have more children? But did you know, you said at the beginning, you didn't think you'd be having this conversation. So by that, do you mean you didn't know you would be having more than one kid?
Yeah, honestly, I did not even know that I would have one kid. I was
Okay.
very career focused, and that's not to say you can't have both, but in my mind, I was thinking, I want to be a CMO. I want to just focus on my career. I wasn't really thinking that I could do both and be successful. And so it was like an overnight decision where all of a sudden I was like, oh, I actually really do want to be a mother.
Mm.
Um, and then when that first ping happened, it kind of was just, this feels so natural. This feels so right now. I'm open to more. I'm open to what is going to happen, what is going to come. And I guess the door just never closed after each one. It was kind of like, let's see what happens. And I never had that closure feeling like, okay, that was it. I still don't
Yeah.
have it. But like realistically, I know we're getting a little, it's getting a little crazy in our house. So that's what I meant by the conversation. Like I never grew up
Yeah.
thinking I'm gonna have a whole bunch of kids and my house is going to be full of children. Like I never saw myself as a mother, I guess. I saw myself in
Interesting.
a different light. Yeah. So it's also
Mm.
interesting that I'm kind of marrying the two of them together where my career
Yeah.
and my home life are kind of one and the same. So
Mm. And for anybody who's listening now or later on, do you mind telling us how old your children are? Because I think that's probably the most impressive part.
my are 4, 2, but turning 3 next week, and 6 months. So essentially, I was saying before, we've kind of had children every 2 years.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. What do you love about it? I don't want this talk to be like, I think I'm in like the grips and I'm like, oh, I've just, as I was saying, I've gone from the one to two it's not necessarily harder than I anticipated. So as I was saying, I've got a 4-year-old son, I've got a 6-month-old daughter, and I always anticipated it to be challenging. But of course, in the same way that people try and prepare you for your first child, you can never actually, you can tell somebody till you're blue in the face, like you're going to be really tired. But until you're actually in that exhaustion phase, you can't really understand what it's like to be a parent until you are one. And I think that goes for when you go from the 1 to 2. Rebecca, you have 3 kids, so you know all about this as well. And as I was saying, I'm just kind of turning that corner. She's 6 months now. I'm like, okay, we've got the swing of things. We are starting to fall into more of a rhythm. Mm-hmm. How have you found, I guess, going back to my original question, what do you find joyful about all of your kids? You know, what keeps you excited enough to keep having them?
I'll say, to back up a little bit from before they're even like fully here, right, and present, I really love birth. I know that obviously I've had bad experiences in birth as well. I know some of us don't have the best birthing experiences, but overall, just the process really fascinates me. And so even now, I'm like, I grieve over not having that process again, like I really, really love that day or 2 days or however long it takes. And so that brings me joy. And I think that's why being a doula and making that my profession has been rewarding, because even today, I have a friend who, I'm not officially her doula. She's not using one, but we've been texting all day, and I'm like kind of like virtually doulaing her through her birth, which is, and I just love it. Like, I just think it brings me joy, as cliche as that is. But then once they're, here and more present and, have their personalities, and it's hard to say this because I am always on technology too, but like it's the moments when I put my phone down, or I'm not working, or I'm not doing other things, and I'm putting that stuff out of my mind, which is very difficult, and I'm just present, and I'm watching, and I'm interacting and asking questions. Like, those are the moments that I really enjoy, because the rest of it is, especially with 4, and Rebecca, I'm sure, with 3, and Amy with 2, like, there's always things that need to be done, like, right? Like, they need to go places, they need to do things. Like, now my 6-year-old has homework, like we're doing that at 9:00. Like, they need showers, they need,
there's a lot of processing.
Yes.
It's like a processing plant, I imagine. Yeah. Yes.
It's like, there's always something that needs to happen. And so like, and this is what I work on daily right now. Like, how do I get out of that mindset where I need to stop being so type A and making sure all the things get checked off, to like, let's just put all this stuff away and like, let's talk. Like, especially now with my 6-year-old, I'm very conscious of like, I don't want her to dislike me because I have a lot of rules. I'm trying to like soften that to be more like friendly, and like, let's put all that other stuff away, and like, let's just talk about like what's going on in school, or like what happened on the playground today, or like, what are you enjoying? And like, I notice in those moments, she's like, I want you to put me to bed. And I'm like, oh, is that because like we connected, like those are the things I think that like, it's hard to see in the day to day, but like, those are the things that I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I love that.
Yeah. And seeing how they are their own people as well. Isn't that fascinating? Like, you can have, as I was saying, from a family of 5, and, the difference between me and my brothers and my sister, it's just phenomenal. It really goes to show you could just have such different kids. You just produce these people, but then they're people, they're their own person. And seeing that unfold is so rewarding.
Different.
Yeah, just like my son and my daughter are just, to be fair, they have different fathers. So my son was to my ex-husband and my daughter is to my current partner. And but it's so cool. I love that. I had a conversation with a family friend which when I was thinking about our talk today, kind of came to mind. They had something like 9 children, something like insane. And something he said has always stuck with me. And he was like, well, it's kind of like, how do you do it? And I think I just had my son at the time. He said, well, you have 1 kid or you have 9, and you have the same amount of hours in the day. Your time doesn't change. And so just how you kind of slice and dice that time changes, but it's not like you have more time with 9 or less time with. And I was like, that's actually really true. And then he said, your kids have such great ROI because, and I don't know about you, I think you're talking about being really ambitious and driven and, work being really important. And that's similar to me. But I do find that, with work, success is a moving target. You get the client or you get the paycheck or you get the promotion or whatever that may be. And there's always something, you're always kind of striving for something. And there's a cap upon which how fulfilling work can be, for me at least. But with your kids, it's endless and it's kind of infinite and they're always changing. And he said, your kids have the best return on investment because they just give you back. You put in so much time, but they give you back so much more. And that's always really stuck with me. And I think that's true. I think that we think about parenting sometimes, or I do a lot, at least in those moments where you're stressed and you're tired and you think, oh my God, they've taken everything I have. But then somehow they find a way to kind of like give it all back. And that can be with the smallest smile. Or your 6-year-old daughter saying, can you put me to bed tonight? So it's always they always find a way to like sneakily return all of the years they've taken away from all of the wrinkles they've given you.
It is so true. Like work is such a moving target, and like life and everything outside of the children is such a moving target. But like, I think like you were saying about the day or like the rest of their life, like they're forever, with you, they're your forever job. And your forever passion. And that is just, if you put that into perspective, like it's so much more powerful than the work sometimes, because you can consistently be hitting your targets and it's not good enough, or you change your mind or you want to step back. But with them, it's like, it's only going to keep compounding, like what they're getting from you and the love and the learning and whatever it is, like, it's just going to keep growing. That doesn't really, I don't think, change as frequently or as drastically, I guess, as the work would.
Not as fickle, unless they become teenagers, and then I don't know.
Yeah, I'm already seeing that. Oh God, yes, I am.
How do you do? Tell me all of your secrets about how you do manage the work and the kids with that kind of volume, and also, as a doula, you have, I imagine, a lot of emotional responsibility and a lot to carry, and kids come with that as well. So, how do you do both?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy, I will say right now. It's like what you make a priority is your priority. It's kind of like the same with like eating well or exercise. Like if that's really important to you, you'll find a way to make it happen. I right now exercise when Margot, my 7-month-old, is sitting there on the mat watching, and she's entertained for a little bit. I don't necessarily have time to like go somewhere right now, but it's a priority to me. It's something I make a priority. And I think work and kids and all the other stuff we have going on, you have to determine where they lie in the priority of your life and what you want to make the priority. And so right now for me, it's my health and it's the kids. Like those are, especially in my first year postpartum, that's always been the way I've treated it. I try not to take on too much from a work perspective. It's hard for me because I want to. I have fear of missing out on opportunities and work and money, but I know it's just going to stress me out and it's not going to be good for any of us. And so I say no to a lot, especially in that first year postpartum. So my first hack is saying no, which is like, oh, Gosh, like right now, I'm trying to decide if in June for 2 days I can go to Chicago for a work trip. And everyone's like, yes, go. And I'm like, I don't know. Is it worth my stress level and emotional,
Mm,
stability to take that on? Um, so that's my number one thing. My other thing is to essentially like block my day. So I know at certain hours I'm with the kids or I have things to do with the kids. And to be fair, it's most of the day right now. My older kids are in school, but Margot is still at home. She's not going anywhere. And that's a decision, that you have to make as a family, like what your childcare situation
yeah.
is, which is huge. Like if you want to be able to get work done. I do my work at night. So I work from 8:30 till 10 o'clock at night, and we eat dinner after that. So we eat dinner at 10 o'clock, 11
Wait, the
o'clock.
whole family? Or
No,
you
no,
and
no,
your
my husband and I, sorry. Yeah, we,
like, oh my God, what is this? What is this technique?
no, 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 no. The way my work right now is on the lower on the priority. And so I get it done, but I get it done at night when I can focus. I can't focus when everyone's around me. I can't focus
Yeah.
if Margot's downstairs and John's watching her. I need to do it at night. And so I block my time at that time when it feels like I can focus and get things done.
Mhm.
I all into it for a good hour and a half. And then we eat dinner and we relax and we talk and then we go to bed and we do it all over again. When she's older and she's in school, maybe a year from now, then that will change. And my work then happens during the day and then we can relax more at night. But it just depends on the season that you're in. It
Yeah.
depends on what is your environment, what is surrounding you, what all you have to get done, what kind of childcare options you have available to you. And with the time you have available, right? Like we all have the same amount of time, but like how much of that is dedicated to kids in house and how much of that is dedicated to your work?
Mm.
You have to find
Mm.
the fits, like you can't do everything. So
Yeah. Yeah. I have just gotten my daughter into daycare, and it was sooner than I'd wanted, well, that I thought that I wanted, but now that she's there, I'm actually really grateful that she's there because I can, and it's only 3 days a week. And it just means that I can have some of my sanity back, I think, because I was trying to do exactly what you're saying not to do, which I started work back at 6 weeks postpartum. We were in a lockdown at the time. New Zealand is so far away that we kind of get like the trickle down. A few guys have had Omicron in like December. We got it like a few months later. And so we got hit with all of that really hard kind of. Anyway, she's in daycare 3 days a week, and that's just started. And I already feel like I can start to get my life back a little bit.
mhm.
And so, I love that you shared, I don't eat dinner till 10 o'clock. I do my work from 8 to 10 or whatever that is, because I think it's easy to look at others and think, oh, they're doing it all. This person's like really active on Instagram and doing all the things, and they've got all of these kids, but I can't do that. And so I think it's important that people share the compromise that's involved.
Keyword, yes. I think yeah, you have to determine where that is for you. And like every person is going to be different. And for me,
Mm,
that's where mine is. I don't paint the picture. I hope that everything is flowing naturally, like I think most people who follow me know I eat super late because I posted that a couple of times. But that's like always my answer to it. Like, how do you do it all? I'm like, we eat European style. I mean, we eat at 10:30 at night because that's what works for us. I think too, it's like about like juggling, right? Like there's a lot of balls up in the air. You can't catch them all. Like that's not my, but you have to be okay with catching the important
mm,
ones. And again, that goes back to your priorities and not trying to catch everything where you're a frazzled mess at the end of the day and you haven't taken any care of yourself. I think also on that note, like one of my biggest things is like from the day Margot was born, I had non-negotiables for myself with every child, honestly, because if
mm,
you are not, again, taking good care of yourself or feeling like you're nourished in some way, then it's very hard for you to take on the motherhood role, the work role, whatever else is being expected of you. From
Yeah.
the day she's born, I have never missed a shower. I know this sounds so small, but
No,
like,
it's huge.
Becca, you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the
Yeah.
shower was my non-negotiable. It still is. Like I want to be able to take a shower because that brings me renewed energy. Like I feel so good after it. I feel clean. Like it's important to me. And like if that
Yeah.
was the only thing I got done postpartum, it was okay because that was my non-negotiable. But like now my non-negotiables I've added on, right? Like I want to get a workout done or some kind of movement. We walk around the neighborhood, or I'm doing a 10-minute thing while she's on the nap or on the mat, the shower, and maybe it's like a water goal or something like that. Like you slowly add on as you kind
Yeah.
of see things get a little bit more stable with like the ages and the activities and things like that.
I think that's a really good thing that I should have done. A non-negotiable list. So I
Yeah.
think I made the mistake of being like, oh, it's, like week 2 and they're still asleep. And they haven't woken up after that newborn stage. And she was a really good baby. And so I was really lucky. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm just going to just get straight back into it. And then she woke up and she's still a really good baby, but their needs, I just kind of forgotten because there's quite a gap between Ra and Riley, that there's 4 years. And so I'd forgotten that they kind of wake up and play and then need more attention. And then now she's, I'm sure Margot is the same. They're like at that really grabby phase where they just grab and they trap, like she can't quite crawl yet, but she's like 3 meters away from where I left her. She kind of like rolls and inches around.
Yeah.
So we're just getting to that stage. And I think that having non-negotiables would have been such a great way to start that postpartum period, especially when you are adding children to the family, so to speak.
And accepting help too, because I think that's
Oh yeah, I do that.
part of, if you're gonna be able to do some of those non-negotiables, like who's spotting you, and
oh yeah,
I think it's hard to accept help sometimes because then that can lead to like that analysis paralysis where you're like, well, I don't know what I want them to do, or like I don't want them just awkwardly sitting here in my house. Like I don't want to have to talk to people.
yeah.
So like, I always tell people I'm like, have categories. Like my categories are house stuff, food stuff, and other kid stuff. And like if someone wanted to help, it was like bring a meal or something from Costco, or take the other kids out of here to go to a park, or clean, do dishes. Like my mom always would come for like a week and like she was on dinner and dish duty, and like that was and so
Yeah.
having people awkwardly stop by and you feel strange asking them to help. It's like, I don't know. That was like a big tip as I got more progressed in motherhood. I was like, these are my categories. Like, what is this person good at? Like, what can I have them help with? Instead of like, kind of like having that decision fatigue in the moment.
Yeah. And a conversation I've been having with my girlfriends as well is like how to getting your partner to help.
Yeah.
And I think so often, especially with kids, being a mother, you're just like, I'll do it. Like, I'll just do it. Like, I'll just do it. It's fine. It'll take me 2 seconds. And then you just end up doing everything. And then you end up being like, I hate you. You do nothing internally. Like, what's wrong with you? Just do something. But I think what is prevailing is the need to be really specific with what your partner can help with. So my partner was like, what can I do to make, because I was kind of losing it. I was just like, oh my God, I'm doing everything. Like I can't. And he was like, well, what can I do to make your life easier? What's, low hanging fruit? And I think that's a really good way to think about getting your partner on board for like the low hanging fruit, because that mental list that, Rebecca, we've talked about this in previous sessions, that they're just never going to have the running thing of like, so-and-so needs this and this and this and this, but giving them really specific tasks. So now he drops off our son in the morning to his kindy, or kindergarten, as you would say. So that's what he does. And he drops him off, and it means that I can take my daughter to daycare, and it's just one less thing. So I'm really curious, how have you divvied up parenting in your partner dynamic, your
Yeah.
parenting?
So as we grew, well, you know, when we had our first, it was a lot more fluid, I would say, because there just wasn't as much that we had to take on in the house. But as they multiplied, we've started to, I, especially with the third and fourth, I was like, listen, I don't need you to wake up in the middle of the night. I got it. It was almost like more of a pain to me to wake him up, to change a diaper, to like wait for him to like
Yeah.
understand what was going on.
Yeah.
I was like, I will handle the middle of the night, diapers, feedings, everything. I was like, I just need you every day to wake up with the other children and like handle where they needed to go. So like kind of like you were saying, like being able to get them ready in the morning, take them to school, pick them up. That's how we did it for a long time. She's not waking up in the middle of the night anymore, knock on wood, but he still does all the pickups and drop offs. Like that is the way we have found best. But we also have a unique situation where we both work from home, which I know not everyone is going to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's
But at
nice.
least if you could do drop offs, like if you are able to do early drop offs, you know, before partner goes to work, or, you know, something that is just like completely off of your plate, like you were saying, like some of that low hanging fruit that's a very specific task
Mhm.
that I have found just to not have to worry about that one thing was huge. To be able to sleep in the morning after being up all night with the baby and not have to
Yeah.
worry about getting someone somewhere was like the best. I was like, you know, that was more efficient, I guess, for my self-care, or effective for my self-care than like splitting up the night somehow. And then we both have to wake up in the morning and
Yeah.
do that whole morning routine. So right now, what it looks like is we both go to sleep. We both usually get to sleep, but like if child 1 through 3 wakes up, John usually is on that duty. And if Margot wakes up, then it's me
Yeah.
in the middle of the night. In the morning, I get Margot every morning. And in the morning, I will, since I'm already awake, I'll do lunches and things like that. And then we kind
Mm.
of like switch where like he sleeps in a little bit and then he takes everyone to school. He does
Mm.
all the pickups at the end of the day,
Oh,
does
great.
after school activities and gymnastics. My girls are in now. Yeah, and that's how and then we try to give each other the space to work out if possible. So like I usually try to get mine done during the day and then he does a, you know, bike ride at night.
Yeah.
The baths and the bedtimes too.
You guys sound like you've just got a very healthy situation going on.
I mean, it's about the communication though, as you said, you know, it's like I internalized it all for a very long time.
Yes, we all do
Yeah,
that.
just like taking it all in and having resentment because
Yeah.
I wasn't telling anyone what I needed or what they could help with specifically. And so now
Mhm.
I'm just like very honest and we both are very like, okay, here's what I need, here's what you need. Like, let's split the day that it works the best for us. Are we still tired and exhausted? 100%.
Oh, of course.
But
Yeah.
it could be worse. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Being
how we
specific and direct it usually yields good results, I find.
yes. Yeah.
Instead of being kind of like a simpering mess, being like, oh, you never do anything. You know, if you're just like, look, I need you to be home at this time because I'm going to a class or whatever that may be.
Exactly.
Kat saying she's got to run, and then Nicola's on mute. So I'm not sure if we're going to get any team chat today. But Rebecca, do you want to add any thoughts?
I would say to your both of your points and like accepting help when your babies are young, I was terrible at that. I carried a lot of resentment for with my ex-husband because of that, because I really was like I was just doing too much and I wasn't accepting the help. I didn't have a lot of help offered, but you know, I literally became a postpartum doula because I wanted to like offer that help and help families set parameters on how that looked. And like simple things like you said, Jess, like when people come over, here's a list of things that they can do for you. Like just have it sitting next to you so that they know these are the things that have to be done right now, or making sure mom gets rest, all of those kind of things. And part of the reason I became a postpartum doula also is because I just want all of the babies. But then I found that like it didn't make sense for me to have more kids than I already do. So I had to like figure out another way to make that work in my life without having to actually do that work. So just to echo what you both said, like make priorities for yourself, stick to them, and don't be afraid to like honor yourself in that way, and have the grace to like make changes when they need to be made and not feel so stuck in like what you think is supposed to happen.
Yeah. That's huge, I think. I think being really honest about what you need. I think for a while, you know, even with my son and then with my daughter, I kind of was like, I can work with them at home or them like, and I just couldn't. And I didn't want to myself kind of admit like, no, I actually need them to be in care, you know, at a young age. It's, you know, from 6 months, I really, at that point, I was like, no, I need kind of a few days to, and I think, you know, there's so much guilt in so many aspects that permeates every aspect of motherhood if we let it. And I think for me, being like, kind of just being able to say out loud, no, I need her in daycare from 6 months old for a few days a week. And I'm such a better mother for it. I'm such a better mother. You know, I can pick her up at 3:30 and then we can hang out in the afternoon. And I can actually, as like you were saying, Jess, I can be present. I'm not like, she's not sitting on the mat watching some baby lullaby by TV while I'm trying to send out emails. So I think being able to be honest about what you actually need in order to be a good mother.
I love that. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think when you are able to kind of set those parameters and expectations, then you can be fully in whatever it is you're doing instead of half in your work and half trying to do something else, which I know we've all been doing right now, especially for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But even if you're like, you know, I'm going to go take the morning to get this done, you just have to do that. You know, you can focus on that instead of trying to divide your attention into multiple things that are going on around you. And like with those parameters and expectations, it's another thing I've been trying to be good at, is saying no to stuff, but also setting expectations that like, even if I like make a play date, I'm literally always like, listen, we're making this for 3:00, but like likely I'll be there at 3:15. Like, you know, so that you don't have that like sweating anxiety of like being late to something, because it inevitably will happen, especially in my situation with all the moving parts. So, you know, setting expectations, making sure like whenever I accept a phone call, literally except for this one, which has been so weird that there's nothing around me right now, I'm always like, I have 4 children, like they may pop in, something may happen, just FYI. Just to remove some of that like guilt about trying to do everything perfectly, and, you know, has been very helpful.
Well, I think that's a perfect kind of note to end on and wrap up. It's been so nice speaking with you, Jess.
Same to you both. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate everything you shared. I feel more empowered to have more children now.
Well, if you do, I will be there to watch the journey.
And I think that you should go on your Chicago trip, because that makes me feel better about going to New York in like a month, which I'm
for you. How long is that flight?
It's like 12 to LA, you know, and then like the 6 to New York. So it's a lot. So I think I'm going to be there for about like 4 nights, which is nothing, but so yeah, it's going to be great. And I actually, you know, I was hearing you say, you know, the stress of going, and I was like, God, yes. But then also for me, like the return on what this trip will do for my mental health, being back there and seeing everybody. And I was there for 10 years. So it's, you know, it's kind of like another home for me. So I haven't been there in so long. So that return is going to be great. That's my non-negotiable, as long as I can make it to New York every now and again.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think you should go. It's like you said, you need to like charge yourself back up again. We need to talk about that.
Definitely. Thank you, Jess. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Nice to see you both.
Weeks. All right. See you later. Have a